longer, but it is no news. We did not succeed in our infrastructure application in getting funding for the bridge that we were in council. Will be turning to you for some direction. First of all, we were obviously disappointed for Victoria. We recognize that this is a substantial and a significant regional project, one that has implications for the capital region. Issues in that trying to repair the Johnson Street Bridge, we would in most likelihood significantly alter the heritage and the artistic value of it. And frankly, when you finally did the analysis on the money that we recognize for investment of $25 to $30 million, we would get a bridge as it currently exists for the next 40 years, precluding and closing off any opportunities to make any improvements. Or we can move forward with a bridge estimated for 40 to 45 million that will allow us opportunities to move forward with pedestrian ways, multi-use ways, bike lanes, building a bridge for the future. Council members, are there any questions, issues, items that they wish to raise in light of the announcement? Councillor Young.
Yes, Your Worship. I certainly do think that we should be rethinking the purpose of this meeting. Had we devoted a similar level of effort to further examination of some of the issues that you've raised with regard to the existing bridge, I think that many of the concerns that you've raised might well have been addressed. It appears very strongly that we're not going to get money. Certainly it's not something that we should be planning on now. And I believe that we owe it to the taxpayers of this city to re-examine those the savings that we could make by careful planning, by re-examining the options. I think dominate those considerations now that we don't have that need for haste, and I think we should stop and look again at what we're planning.
We're elected to make decisions in the public interest, and that's what we've been doing since getting the condition assessment last April. It's really hard, in fact impossible, to unknow something. As councillors, we have a responsibility to make the best decisions, or what we think are the best decisions. We also know that substantial bridge closures would be required, possibly up to 6 months. It's very difficult, in fact, sometimes harrowing, to go across the Johnson Street Bridge. So a new bridge is my preferred option. And I understand that there would be no tax increase even if we went ahead on our own.
What an earthquake would look like if that was the circumstance, and how many lives would be put at risk. And I see eyes rolling in the audience, and I'm not trying to glamorize this or use fear as an incentive, but the reason that I mention that is because seismic upgrading is new to this. I mean, is new to our communities in lots of ways, and we're now faced with how do we manage to protect the residents that rely on us, and it puts us in a position where it doesn't feel like we have much of an option. That's the way it settles down for me. It doesn't feel like we have much of an option. That being said, I'm supportive of Councillor Young's comments in that we were acting in a time frame that was exaggerated by pressures around this particular stimulus funding. Looking at our fiscal sustainability, so what are the tax implications on our residents, what are the economic predictions for this evaluation, because I don't know how a population of 75,000 people is supposed to shoulder $65 million. I don't know how I do think we have to do our due diligence, and now that the clock has stopped, so to speak, we have a little bit of time. I think we owe it to ourselves to explore and ensure that we're coming at this from the most sustainable vantage point.
We know that we have not received the grant that we so hope to get. Although maybe it's not re-examining the option that Councillor Young has stated. I do want to at least go back and get a little bit more clarity, because when we talk about cost, and we mentioned the 25 to 30 million for 40 years, or the 40 to 45 million for 100 years. I also need to know the cost of businesses in our downtown. What is that amount of time? Do we have, is it going to be, do we hear that Thrifty's was impacted by a 12-week closure? Are we looking at a year closure? Are we looking at quite a few years closure? And so when I look at the impact of cost, there's so much more when we discuss cost than just the actual taxpayers, how much is going to be in their taxes each. But I think we do have now an opportunity to slow down and make sure that when we look at the costs, that we are looking at all the costs, not only just to replace, refurbish, or what the impacts of those decisions are going to be.
There's a rumor that one of the reasons that there's been so much hesitation to fund this project from the other levels of government has been that, like so many, like the cuts to the arts organizations and the other nonprofits, that those municipalities and organizations with the greatest needs seem to suffer the most at the hands of this provincial government. Depends on it, and because a major transportation network depends on us moving forward. I wish we could all move forward together in a way that was going to be the most economical, that was going to have the least financial impact on this region. And now we're seeing that we're having to reconsider those options a little bit. And so like the people in this audience, I share your disappointment in this news. And as we move forward, I hope that we can work together to make the best of this current situation.
I trust our engineering department. I trust our engineering consultants, and I believe that they've already done a very thorough and competent job of analyzing the condition of the bridge. And, I'm just not convinced that we need more information or more analysis to understand what our responsibility to our citizens and to the city is.
Now, I certainly felt that the timing was right because of the declining costs for construction. And I did remember back when we were considering doing Vancouver and View Street, and there were councillors who did not support that at the time and said you have to wait until construction prices go down. Well, now construction prices have gone down, and I think that that does make a fairly powerful case for trying to move forward in a responsible way. But at the same time, I'm very cognizant of what $63 million means to our residents in terms of a tax burden. As has already been mentioned, it will have an impact on what other infrastructure projects we can address during that period. I think the thing that concerns me most is I don't want to support a substandard solution. So I do think we need to regroup, and it's not regrouping on whether we move forward, but it's how we move forward. I think my recommendation would be that we do need to, not this evening, make a decision on the design, for example, but just to really catch our breath, come together again as a council, and make a determination on what is the best way to go forward.
Of course, I'm disappointed that Johnson Street Bridge wasn't one of those. I can't say I'm all that surprised. What is the downtime for that bridge, and what's the impact on downtown businesses? As I say, I moved. I think that we actually do need to consider replacement, but I think we can't do it entirely on the backs of 78,000 taxpayers in the city of Victoria. The discussion that we now have to have is, can we firm up the number of what refurbishment might look like, and I suspect it's higher than we originally projected. And then can we talk to, Councillor Chandler said, where has our discussion been with Esquimalt, because they're enormously impacted. The Island Corridor Foundation is also enormously impacted because we have to have a discussion on the bridge railhead coming into the downtown.